Hey everybody, this is Will Robson here. You can check out my work at facebook.com/RobsonInk. So this is the second part of the inking video I'm doing for the book Meta Rising, and the Facebook has actually been launched now. So you can check that out at facebook.com/Meta Rising Comic, and that link will be in the description below. So I was thinking about the way I wanted to sort of render his like black spandex costume. Like, there's an exact type name for the material, but I was looking at John Byrne, and he actually does sort of the opposite of what I'm doing. You see how I sort of filled in the lines around it and kept white to show sort of the muscle hitting light? He actually does the opposite, where the muscle is completely black and then sort of all the lines in between are white, and it makes a really cool sort of negative effect. And by negative I mean like sort of the negative of a picture, not as in it's something that is negative. So I've been looking more at rendering backgrounds, getting better at it. I've been studying a lot of this huge book I have, which is called Spawn Compendium, which has just the inks of the first 50 issues of Spawn, and just Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo that are my absolute heroes, and I want to strive to get to their level of sort of thinking when it comes to shading and rendering, because I think that's sort of the coolest looking shading and rendering to me. And I want my figures to look like John Buscema's, because John Buscema is a master of figure drawing, and John Byrne, because I like John Byrne's anatomy, and then my faces are all pretty much studied off of Capullo and John Romita Jr., and that's sort of how I sort of found my art style, I suppose. And you know, style essentially is you got to look at. I mean, Todd McFarlane was my favorite artist for a long time. I wanted everything of mine to look like his. But over time, you need to look at your favorite artist and pick what you like about it the most and what you hate about it. Well, not hate, but what you don't like about it. And what I found with McFarlane was I wasn't a fan of his anatomy, and I wasn't really a fan of his faces. I realized that what I really liked from him was his panel designs and his rendering. Capullo, I love the way he draws faces. That's what I strive for the most when it comes to his work, but I'm not a huge fan of it's hard for me to even decide what I'm not a huge fan of his with. I don't know, I suppose he has a lot of I sort of like the smoothness and roundness that John Byrne and John Buscema and all the old guys have with their muscles, where I do like to draw big circly lumps, where Greg Capullo sort of makes his lines a bit more jagged. It's kind of like what Jim Lee turned into. And Jim Lee's another one. I love the way Jim Lee renders, and I love Jim Lee's anatomy, but I'm not a fan of his storytelling, or the way he draws faces. So essentially, you just need to break down what you like about someone's art, what you don't like about it, study it as much as possible, and eventually you'll pick up things where you can create your own artwork, which is always exciting. And there's a lot of pauses in between this video because I kept pausing it on and off because I had a lot to do in the background, so you might see sort of long pauses on the screen. So now I'm getting into this bottom panel, which is sort of the guy who's kicked open the door and he's realised he's walked into a room full of thugs. And I might have gone a bit 80s with these thugs, but at the same time, when anybody says thugs, you instantly want to draw people with bandanas and undershirts and, you know, baseball bats like I'm doing there. I think I have brass knuckles, and I always get carried away with thugs because they're just really fun to draw. I mean, I enjoyed drawing this panel, and not saying that I don't enjoy drawing comics. It's just sometimes, you know, for instance, the pinups I've been doing is just pure art fun. It's me like, hey, I'm going to draw Scarlet Spider, and I do it, and that is just fun, and it's done, and it gets done in about 2 hours. You know, when you're drawing actual comics, and they're not your own, you know, you're being a storyteller. That's the number one thing to think about. Does this page make sense without words on it? For instance, the panel 1 has him in the garbage, panel 2 has him shooting the grappling gun, panel 3 has him swinging towards the guy, panel 4 has him kicking the guy, panel 5 has him kicking the door open, and panel 6 has him reacting to all the people in the room. That is easily, you know, without the words over it, you can tell roughly what's going on. It's different when it comes to dialogue scenes, but there's still, you need to capture the emotion in a dialogue scene, essentially. So, you know, if someone's sad, you need to catch sort of the sadness or the shock and things like that. But storytelling is really fun. It really is. If you can get really creative with it. But here I just love this big dudes like with ponytails and mustaches, and I think this character on the right here not this guy, but the guy next to him that I'll be doing, is a character from my old book I made called Dino Zombies. Sometimes I like sometimes I like to chuck old characters in mine. And I realised I had no idea how to render hair, so after this inking I sort of went and studied it a bit more, and I've just been finding it's been easier for me to pick up things recently. And by that I mean it's easier for me to sort of sit down and say, right, I'm going to learn how to draw this, and instead of it taking me ages, it's taking me a lot less time. And that's just because I've been looking at art now all day, every day, drawing for over a year, essentially. So my eyes are just getting used to seeing these sort of forms and objects over and over again, and everything's just clicking a bit better, which is fun. So this is the girl that he was chasing, and then she sort of runs in there and points towards him in a sort of sexy attack pose, I presume. There wasn't much description of what the character should look like. I think the description is wide ensembles, and just, I mean, it's my job to interpret the feeling of the book, so I sort of just took like a slightly Matrix look to her, just because I thought that was appropriate for sort of the story. Again, these are render lines wrapping around forms on her body, and you can watch my How to Draw Comics the Robson Way video, where I always talk about forms and how important they are. And these panels are always fun because this is doodling. These characters I don't have to draw over and over again. It's just drawing random faces, you know, especially if they're not heroes. They don't have to be pretty, so you can have big noses, big lips, big chins, silly haircuts, silly clothes. You can just, it's real sort of freedom to draw random people, and it's probably some of the most fun stuff. I was chucking random feet in below there to sort of assume that there's more people behind the foreground people, and I think I pulled off. This is the one guy I really hate on this page, but the problem with comics is you gotta just keep moving forward. You gotta know when to stop. I gave him brass knuckles, but it's nothing wrong with him, it's just the pose he is in is really boring. It's too stiff, and his proportions aren't correct. His head is bigger than his torso, and his torso is too small for his body. There are people out there that look like that, though, so you can get away with it in some form, but it's not recommended. So now I'm chucking in my perspective ruler again. I'm putting the blue lines over everything so that I can draw in the background with ease. And what I usually do is I copy the foreground inks, and then I draw over that as well. So when I go to fill things in, there's something behind those. I don't have to make guesswork where to fill stuff in, if that makes any sense. The only problem with doing this is it takes bloody ages to fill in all this blue. I'm trying to think of a good way to sort of save time without having to do that. I'm not quite sure yet. So I'm going to put an exit sign above there. This is supposed to be a warehouse, so I just put random boxes in there. And this scene is only about 5 panels long of him fighting people in the warehouse. So it's going to be mostly close-up action shots, so I don't have to worry too much about the background. But I'm pretty sure I got the overall feel I wanted to do with this panel, which was this guy kicking in the door and like, I'm the coolest superhero, and then getting into the room and realizing, oh crap, I'm definitely outnumbered here, and there's dudes way bigger than me. And that's storytelling. So that was part 2. Part 3 will be up tomorrow for the inks. Okay, thanks for watching. You can check out my work at facebook.com/RobsonInk. Bye bye.